dawn in the Amazon basin does not begin with light, but with an awakening of sound. It is a chaotic symphony, where the roars of nocturnal predators give way to the melodic trills of birds of paradise. In the thick, sweltering heat, where moisture rises from the earth in a ghostly mist among layers of decaying leaf litter, a tiny entity begins its day. It has no name, no rank among the billions of its kind. To us, it is merely a common forest fly, a creature often brushed away. But under a super microscopic lens, it reveals itself as a masterpiece of biological engineering, a true warrior equipped with a glossy, chitinous armor and the most sophisticated sensors to face one of the harshest environments on the planet. Look deep into its eyes, a crimson maze composed of over 4,000 independent hexagonal lenses. Each lens is a window to the world, sending signals to a brain at the speed of light. It does not see static images as humans do. Instead, it perceives the flow of time. To this creature, the world seems to move 7 times slower than it does for us. The flap of a hawk's wing or the strike of a human hand is, in its perception, merely the sluggish, clumsy movement of a giant. This ultra-high-speed image processing is not just a gift, it is the key to survival, allowing it to predict the future before danger truly strikes. Before taking its first flight of the day, it must perform a rigorous and meticulous maintenance ritual. Slender legs rub together continuously, sweeping away every microscopic speck of dust, every grain of pollen, and the lingering droplets of night dew. In this micro-world, the surface tension of water is an invisible but ruthless enemy. A single water droplet clinging to its wing is as heavy as a boulder on the shoulders of a sprinter. Cleanliness here is not a habit, it is survival. Only when the wings, thin as parchment, are completely dry do they begin to vibrate at an extreme frequency. A hum rises, piercing the stillness of the hollow tree, signaling the start of a turbulent journey through the great wilderness. The sky beneath the Amazon canopy is not an empty space, but a complex matrix of thermal currents, thick humidity, and interlacing scent trails. The fly uses its ultra-sensitive antennae like the most sophisticated chemical tracking radars. It does not fly aimlessly. It is reading the fragrant molecules suspended in the air. Just a few molecules of fermenting sugar from a fruit hundreds of meters away are enough to trigger a navigational map in its tiny brain. Morning sunlight piercing through the leaves creates deadly columns of light filled with intense UV rays. The fly must constantly navigate, weaving through narrow gaps to find safe corridors of shade, where the temperature will not scorch its delicate body. The ultimate goal appears, a forest fig, ripe and burst open on a moss-covered rock. But nature always finds ways to test the small. A sudden jungle rain pours down, a dramatic hallmark of the tropics. These are no longer mere raindrops, they are giant, liquid bombs, hurtling from thousands of meters at terrifying speeds. A direct hit could crush its exoskeleton instantly. The fly is forced to change tactics. It does not fly straight, but moves in a masterful zigzag, utilizing the small air vortices beneath the leaves as natural shields. Every wing beat now is a precise calculation to avoid being swept into the mud by the torrents. As it reaches the fig, another battle begins. This is no peaceful feast for one. The intoxicating aroma has drawn hundreds of other diners, from rival fly species and fierce wasps to brilliant forest butterflies. The fly must creep into the deepest crevices, using its specialized proboscis to lap up the precious fermenting nectar. This is pure energy, the biofuel that allows its wings to beat tens of thousands of times per minute. While feeding, all its senses remain strained. Every moment spent lingering to enjoy the sweetness is a gamble with death, as other predators are also targeting this very hub of food. In this emerald kingdom, the boundary between predator and prey is as thin as a spider's silk. While the fly is absorbed in the energy it has found, it is unaware that from behind a large leaf vein, a pair of large, round, black eyes are locked onto the target. This is the jumping spider, an opportunistic assassin with a terrifying ability to calculate trajectories. Unlike passive web-weaving spiders, the jumping spider uses hydraulic pressure in its legs to launch itself like an arrow. The distance closes millimeter by millimeter. Silence reigns. The fly appears vulnerable, but nature has equipped it with ultra-sensitive sensory hairs on its back, capable of detecting the slightest change in air pressure as the enemy moves. The assassin strikes. In a fraction of a microsecond, as the spider's legs leave the leaf, the fly has already tucked its legs and launched into the air. This is a pursuit at maximum velocity in three-dimensional space. It is not merely fleeing, it is guiding the enemy into narrow openings that only its tiny body and flexible wings can traverse. The secret lies in a pair of tiny balancing wings called halteras behind the main wings. They act like modern gyroscopes, preventing it from ever losing balance even in the most dizzying rolls. This is a rhythmic coordination that even the most advanced human fighter jets would envy. Escape from the spider does not mean safety. The jungle also holds sweet traps from the plant kingdom. Wild orchids emit the scent of decay to deceive the fly's instinct to find a place to lay eggs. Once inside the flower's labellum, it is imprisoned in a maze of downward-pointing hairs, forcing it to do the work of pollination before being released, exhausted. And most terrifying is the invisible enemy, the cordyceps fungus spores. A single grain of fungal dust accidentally clinging to a leg joint will silently root into the nervous system, turning the fly into a literal zombie. The fungus will control it, forcing it to climb to the highest point of a leaf, where the fungus will burst from its body, scattering spores to destroy future generations. A silent and gruesome death. As the sun begins to sink behind the distant ridges, dyeing the canopy crimson, the life of this small individual enters its twilight. In the world of the fly, 3 weeks is a millennium. Time has left its mark on frayed wings, and the scars from escapes and jungle rains have taken away its former agility. However, the instinct for survival now gives way to a higher one, the instinct to preserve the species. It no longer seeks food for itself, it seeks continuity. The final hours of life are not for rest, but for the most important mission that nature has embedded in its genetic code. It finds a mate on a dry branch, bathed in the afternoon sun. A strange and delicate mating ritual begins. There are no words, only vibrations. It beats its wings at a unique frequency, creating ultrasonic melodies that only its kind can hear. It is a song of life, of the fierce experiences it has overcome. After that brief connection, new life is officially formed. Tiny, snow-white eggs will be placed discreetly in the crevices of tree bark, where decay will provide warmth and food for the generation to come. As the night dew begins to fall, blurring the leaves, the aged fly lands for the final time. Its strength is spent. The muscles that once beat millions of times are now exhausted. It settles quietly on the underside of a large leaf, the very cradle that protected it from the rains. It no longer has the strength to fight gravity, and its legs slowly loosen their grip. Death comes as gently as a falling leaf. But this is not the end. Its body will melt into the earth, becoming nutrients to feed the green sprouts, continuing the eternal cycle of the Amazon. We often look at the fly with disdain, but remember, in the grand tapestry of nature, no creature is superfluous. They are the dedicated scavengers, the silent pollinators, and an indispensable link in the chain of life. A short life, measured in days, yet containing all the glory and ferocity of the universe. The jungle still rustles in the night wind, carrying the promise that tomorrow, another pair